I think that you're right. You're going to see more issuance of new stablecoins than less, right? It's going to be like worse before it gets better kind of thing. Um, but I think the world and everyone knows in their bones, right? Like, so this is the kind of like calculus. This is going to be a bit of a long-winded answer, so I'm going to preface this, but this is going to be the kind of calculus for most financial institutions. It's like, oh my God, Tether makes X amount of dollars. Why don't we do this? We have a balance sheet. We could do this, right? And we could take it down. But again, it goes back to the original point, which is they don't understand why Tether is the best, stablecoin. That Tether does not service, if you think about it from the, yield perspective, which a lot of stablecoins go and try to attract, right? Nobody cares to get the yield, right? Billions of dollars. There's since the election, there's been something like $30 billion in new stablecoin issuance on Tether, right? That's another $30 billion that's saying, I don't care about the yield. Just give me the best, most liquid product that is always available, and I can have it in my local jurisdiction, and people will forego whatever yield they can get on that, same amount of dollars, right? So that's kind of point number one, right? People are the stablecoin issuers of today, especially the new ones that are kind of popping up. They don't really understand the fundamental reason why Tether is winning, which is Tether is much more of a replacement of the euro dollar system broadly than it is anything else, right? It is creating the ability to have dollars offshore while the American government is very happy, right? Subliminally, without actually needing to kind of go in and intervene. And then the other, to take the other side of the argument, right, which is, okay, then let's look at the domestic stablecoin issuer in Circle, right? Circle, business is fundamentally different. Like after we saw the prospectus for the S1, we realized very quickly as an industry, I mean, we knew this, right? But, as an industry, that Circle's not a great business, right? It's not like Tether. These two are not the same at all, right? Number one, they give away almost the overwhelming majority of their revenue for their largest partner, which is Coinbase. And they'll have to do this for every single new kind of fintech company or bank that they want to work with, because obviously you did it for one, you can do it for all of the rest, right? If Coinbase has the bargaining chips, then Binance is going to do the same thing, right? And then so on and so forth. So, Circle's game is very much flood the market with the supply of USDC and pray to God that, like, once the velocity gets to $1 trillion plus, right, that then maybe it'll be, the law of large numbers gets so insane that, like, you'll still make some money. Um, Funny enough, they pulled their IPO a few days ago. Obviously, probably more related to tariffs than anything else, but still, it wasn't met with a ton of, positive reception. Whereas Tether, a private company that's is very much moving in the right direction and kind of hitting a lot of traction within the US, right? And you saw this with the outcry of kind of the Circle team really pushing Tether to kind of get eliminated from any sort of stablecoin regulation by banning foreign issuers. America is not dumb, thankfully, as a legislative body, broadly speaking. And really, they understand that you need a sort of offshore dollar system to exist. You just want to bring them into the fold just enough to where you have purview, but you don't want to kind of fully meddle in that system. This is also why Tether's existed for so long, right? You're not going to have $100 billion plus uh, stablecoin exists, or dollar system exists without obviously the government knowing about its existence, right? I think these two things are really critical in terms of the kind of ongoing push, and I think Paolo gave an interview, I think, to Forbes. I don't know when it was, but the article released today, right? In which he highlights, it's like he could have a bunch of, and I really appreciate his insights because obviously he's running the best fund, but he could have a bunch of different opinions. So he could give out the yield, he could do this and that. And, I'm sure he's thought about all of these different approaches, but he kind of has always harped the same thing, which is people just want stability in their dollars, right? People want to know that my, dollar will exist tomorrow in the same way that it existed today. And that it's going to be good anywhere in the world that I go and want, and can transact in that, right? They don't want a store of value. That's what Bitcoin is for, right? In terms of, having like a sort of hedge against inflation. They want, digital dollars so they can go and spend that money basically, right? So I think this is the kind of fine line that people like they get too cute with it. They try to put everything into one package, right? But they don't understand fundamentally the reason why Tether, is doing so well, and why it's kind of the only game in town in a way, and will probably be the largest winner across the next number of years, right? With really, the competitors kind of dying out. fundamentally hinges on the fact that you're not going to have 50 editions of the same dollar, right? You're not going to have 50 different, this is why banks haven't ever issued their own currency. In the past, they actually did this. So this more than 100 years ago in the US, different banks issued their own currency until the practice was standardized across the board, right? So people realized very quickly that it was a bad idea to have different people issuing different types of dollars, right? The same thing will happen here. That's going to fundamentally, happen. What does that look like? Does it look like Tether plus government or something like this? Maybe, but it's going to be very hard to replace the global source of USDT.